Welcome to a 10-1-10-1 review. My name is Nessa, and today we're looking at Snacko and how I felt after playing the game for 10 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours, and 1 year in-game. As a person who does not have a lot of time to play games, I think that first impressions are really important, and the first 10 minutes, an hour of a game usually should give you a basic rundown of what the game has to offer, in addition to hooking you on the premise of the game. I also know that farming, life simulation, and cozy games can have slow starts, lengthy tutorials, or take some time to shine, which is why I think reviewing the game at 10 hours and a year in game is also important, because how I feel at the 1 hour mark might be completely different than how I feel at 10 hours and change again after a year in game. I won't be rating Snacko on a scale, but we'll definitely talk about what I liked and things I wish it did differently. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Snacko is an early access adventure indie simulation game developed by Blue Curse Studios and published by Armor Game Studios. It has been in early access since December 6, 2023. The game currently retails for $24.99. As of this review, Snacko is currently on early access version 0.9.3. A full release date has not yet been set. In Snacko, you can farm, take care of cows and chickens, explore and gather resources in the different island biomes, craft, decorate, rebuild the town, as well as befriend and romance a wide cast of different animal characters. You and your childhood friend, Mikan, are starting a new life on Snacko Island after quitting your job in the big city. As you slowly rebuild the town, you meet a land sprite and are tasked with figuring out why the goddess Messicina has abandoned the island, causing it to be covered in miasma. Each area of the island that you explore has an obelisk where you can offer items, which will clear the miasma for that area and unlock the next one. Unlocking more areas will give you different resources to gather, and that in turn unlocks new crafting recipes that includes making your farming life easier, powering up your tools, and furniture to make your island and home look better. In the first 10 minutes, I was able to customize my character and make it onto the island with Mikan. The first thing that I noticed was the choices in your ability to customize your cat character. There are 5 different cat bases you can choose from and customize from there. You have the option to change a variety of things, such as the color of each of your eyes, your tail, ears, and even the color of your toe beans. After creating my character, there was a cutscene in which Mikan and I shipwrecked, and we both were rescued by a cat named Nobu. The characters so far are charming, as you get to see Nobu and Mikan's personalities come out as you spend more time together. During the first 10 minutes, I was able to move a very short distance as the tutorial started with the basic controls of moving and interacting with things in the environment. The tutorial is text-based and very simple. Controls for moving is pretty straightforward, and I really like how far I could jump. After 1 hour in game, I was able to start clearing out the area that would end up becoming my farm, craft my house, chop down some trees, mine some rocks, and plant some crops. The farming mechanics of Snacko is similar to other games. You till the ground with a hoe, plant seeds, and then water the seeds until the crop is grown. Snacko gives you the tools that are basic in most farming games, that being a watering can, hoe, pickaxe, and an axe. These tools are accessible from a tool belt that you rotate through with the keyboard shortcuts Q and R. I struggled a bit with scrolling through the tool belt to find the specific tools I wanted in the beginning. However, later learned that I can move around the tools in my inventory to change the order that they scroll through. I actually appreciate that the tools do not take up room in the main inventory and have their own section. Although the tools are pretty basic, the gathering resources mechanic is slightly different than other games. Snacko allows you to chop and mine through 2 ways. The first being charging up your axe or pickaxe to gather, and the second being spamming. The second one is so fun since you can really gather materials very quickly. However, the downside is that you use more stamina than charging. I really like this difference and had a really fun time just clearing my farm. In the hour that I played, I also liked that there were no restrictions on where I could place my house. The impression I got so far is that Snacko gives you a lot of freedom for building and placing items. That being said, the game's build and place mode was a little bit difficult for me to get used to at this point. For example, you have to use the shift button to manually move the camera around the area that you're working with. I'm used to having freer rotations in games and different controls, so it was a little difficult for me to adjust. I also had to get used to toggling on and off grid snap and learning how to move items that I've already placed and where to get items from my inventory. Still, I was really enjoying how much the game was allowing me to customize my farm area, and I spent a lot of time placing fences around my crops. I also unlocked the museum. As in other games, the museum serves as a place for you to donate items so you can see them all in one place. In Snacko, you can donate a variety of different things such as furniture, fish, paintings, and even food. Lastly, I unlocked my first Mikan Island Adventure objective, also known as a Meow. These are Mikan's quest items to improve the town and enhance the island's quality of life. The very first one involves having a grocer on the island, so I learned how to send letters to the mainland to request for someone to move in and take on that role. After 10 hours in game, I managed to complete the first Meow and was on to the second one. I cleared the first obelisk in the grassland and unlocked the desert biome. I recruited a grocer and also my first resident, and I started clearing out the debris generally in town. During this time, I learned about putting gems onto my tools to make them stronger. Different gems have different effects on the tools, which was super cool to me because I love being able to customize how my tools work. Some gems decrease the time it takes to charge your tools. Other gems increase the chance of obtaining rare resource drops, and some gems even allow you to get a small amount of money when you use the tool. Gems also affect different tools differently, so I love changing through my tools to see which ones would benefit from whichever gem I had. After 10 hours, I was still very interested in playing the game. However, it was getting a little grindy for me to gather desert resources for the next obelisk. At this point, gathering from the rocks and trees were harder, and I was using up more stamina. I spent many days just watering my crops and then heading to the desert without even going into town. Furthermore, it was getting tedious to have to walk to the desert on foot. I found that I would double jump everywhere since it was just a lot faster than walking. The grind did get progressively easier since I would eventually gather enough gems to upgrade my tools, but I definitely felt it during this time. After playing Snacko for 34.2 hours, I finally made it through a whole year. I upgraded my house 3 times, filled 2 barns with cute cows and chickens, amassed about 12 super sprinklers, finished the 3rd Meow, and almost finished the 4th one, save the fact that I only made 1 friend the entire year I was on this island, while I needed 3. And I finished the main story by clearing the miasma on the island. I really didn't invest that much time in the relationships with the residents of Snacko Island as much as I thought I would, as evidenced by my one friend, so I can't really speak to how it compares to other games. I'm sure that there are different benefits that you might get from romancing some of the townsfolk, but at this point, I have no clue. I would say that I did most of everything that Snacko had to offer in this early access version, besides getting into a relationship or finishing the last Meow objective. Here are some things that I liked. I touched on it already, so I won't spend too much time talking about how I really like the ability to upgrade tools with different gems for different stats. This is pretty unique compared to other farming games, so I really wanted to highlight how awesome it was that Snacko gives you the choice to customize your tools like this. Even in the case of the animal brush, I upgraded it to restore stamina whenever I brush one of my animals. Additionally, I also like that you can hit the furnace or the Olympic with a tool to make it go faster if you don't want to wait. This takes up a lot of stamina, but if you have a lot of food items, then it could be really fun. I like that there are crop varieties in the game. Although there are not many crops, a couple of them have unique features, specifically the onion and the bell peppers. For the onion, you can harvest them 2 days in and get green onions, or allow the crop to fully mature and harvest regular onions. For the bell peppers, you can harvest them when they are still green, or wait and harvest both red and green peppers. Little details like this for the crops in a farming game is really cool to have. I also like the ability to choose whether to use tools by charging or rapid tapping resources. Rapid tapping is just so much fun to do, and after I was able to cook better dishes to restore more health, gathering resources became really easy and fun because I didn't have to charge my tools every time. Yet another thing I like is that you actually have different shop owners come onto your island. When I first sent out mail to recruit a grocer to move to the island, a robin or a sparrow wrote back to me, but I ended up choosing a mother goose and her gosling instead. In the same manner, you can write to have random townsfolk move onto the island and choose who you accept. I like the fact that you can craft a cart, which makes traveling to different biomes so much easier. Although I had to double jump everywhere for a good chunk of time, once I unlocked the cart, I didn't feel the grind as much since getting to the resources was way faster than on foot, saving me a bunch of time. I like the crafting system in the way where crafting an item will automatically pull that resource from your storage. so you don't have to have the item in your inventory in order to make something. I also like the same feature with the build and place mode, since it will automatically pull placeable items from your storage to use when you're in this mode. It is so great to know you don't have to run back and forth from your farm to the town because you forgot something in storage while you're trying to arrange what your town's gonna look like. So I really do appreciate this quality of life feature. Lastly, I like that there are different ways to complete the obelisk offering requirements. Usually the obelisk will ask for some form of crops, more of which could be unlocked at the grocers after completing meow objectives, resources that could be gathered in the obelisk's biome, or crafted items or foods. The obelisks do have items that cannot be substituted, however most of the other items that it requests can be substituted for others. For example, if you do not want to grow 3-star quality cotton for one of the requirements, you can craft 15 metal frames instead and use that. Here are a few tips I can recommend after finishing the game. I found that you can fall into the ocean and this will teleport you instantly to your bed. At first, I was really distressed about this because I had to walk all the way back to the docks where I was fishing after I accidentally fell in the ocean. However, I figured that you could use this when you were in a different biome to teleport you back to your farm really quickly instead of walking. So after I exhaust my stamina gathering resources, I would just jump into the ocean and then go back to my farm without expending any time. I'm not sure whether this will be patched in the future or if this was something that the developers intended. Either way, as of this version, I think that is a great tool to have. Another tip would be to eat cooked meals if you can. Although you can directly eat the fish or berries that you gather right away to regain some stamina, cooking it will allow you to heal more when you eat it. I survived for the majority of the game off grilled fish since the recipe is so easy to make. All you need is a fish and a stick. Fruit on a stick is also a good recipe to use since you can gather wild berries relatively easy in the beginning of the game if you do not like the fishing minigame. If you don't have an oven, do not despair. I used Mikan's oven in her house for the majority of the year until I eventually decided to make my own. And here are some things that I wish the game did differently. I really don't like the mine in this game. There is currently one available to access in the grasslands, and it is an area where you can find mist crystals easily. The mine has 5 different levels and you go through each floor trying to find the way down. There is no mini-map to show your location or a mine shaft that will take you all the way back up to the entrance regardless of your floor, so you often have to retrace your steps after you want to leave. This wouldn't be too much of a problem if not for the fact that vines and rocks that block your path will respawn and need to be cut down or mined again to reopen your path. This is the perfect recipe for getting lost, which I did a lot while in the mines, to the point where I wasn't interested in going back after I got the alchemist shop. I think it would be greatly improved if going back up gave the player the option to go all the way back to the beginning, or if there was a mini map that could be added so the players could see how to get back to where they were coming from. Although I love the freedom and ability to build in town and on the farm, I wish that the building and placing interface was a little less difficult to use. I did get used to it after playing for all these hours, but I think it could be frustrating for players who may not want to take the time to learn how to use it. I also wish there was a different way to organize the crafting recipes. They're not organized by alphabetical order, so it takes me some time to find what I'm looking for. For example, the vintage dresser and vanity for some reason is not grouped with all of the other vintage items, so you actually have to scroll down a little bit more to find them. I think that little tweaks would make the organization of recipes a little better and easier to find. Lastly, due to the game being early access, there are still some glitches and bugs that need to be worked out. Although they are not entirely detrimental to the gameplay, one of them does cause you to basically skip an entire day after you leave an event because the game will skip to around 9 p.m. of the next day, shortly after you wake up. Another one will cause your animals to not appear outside, so you have to ring the bell to have your invisible animals go back into their barn, and then ring it again to have them reappear outside. After completing a whole year, I can say that I have done as much as I want to with Snacko at this time. I don't have a big need to romance anyone or actually finish the last meow, and there's not to say that the island inhabitants are boring or anything since they are beautifully drawn and have their own personality and cutscenes. I just don't anticipate going back into the game until full release, and even then there would need to be a big update with added content since at this point I feel like I finished the game. Overall, Snacko is such a cute little farming game with really no stress maps or what I would consider to be hard content, besides the optional platforming time trials that you can totally ignore and skip over. The potential to make your town and farm look amazing is definitely there if you are creative and are the type of person who loves decorating. There is no rush to complete any objectives in the game, although there are areas and shops that are locked out until you complete the obelisk offering requests and the meow objectives. If you're looking for a classic farming game with the added elements of crafting and decorating, then I would definitely recommend to try out Snacko. If you're the type of person who needs some action or the type who doesn't like grinding resources, then this might not be the game for you. Well, there you have it. If you think this game is for you, I hope you give it a try. Let me know if you played Snacko already or are planning to. Also, please like and subscribe for more reviews such as this. I usually am able to release a new review in about a month or two, depending on how long it takes me to play the game. Until next time, I'm Vanessa, and this has been 10101.